We're going to begin our practice in child's pose. So slowly walk your hands out in front and aim to have your bottom as close to your heels as possible. Take a moment to connect. Focus on the breath. From here we're going to thread our left arm underneath the right for a child's pose with a slight gentle twist. Check in with how you feel right now. Do you feel any areas of tension, tightness? Unthread the needle and then we're going to put our right arm underneath our left, again for a gentle twist. Just focus on the breathing. In breath and out breath. From here, come back to center and slowly make your way to all fours. On an exhale, we're going to arch our spine as high as we can for cat pose, really pulling in at the stomach. And as we inhale, we're going to bring our chest forward for cow pose. Exhale, round, tall. Inhale, chest forward. One more round. Exhale as tall as you can, really tucking up through the abs. And then inhale, back to cow, chest forward. And come back to a neutral spine. From here, we're going to lift our right leg and left arm for a nice gentle balance. You can hold here if you'd like to add on. You can try and reach for that back leg with your left hand for a little mini back bend. And let's try the other leg. So we're going to raise our left leg and right hand, mini little balance. And then to add on, you're going to reach back behind you, grab onto that foot for tiger pose. And then come back to a neutral. From here, slowly begin to walk your hands forward, bringing your chest to the floor, aiming to keep your hips over your knees. This is extended puppy pose, a great stretch for the shoulders. Breathe. From here we're going to add on, we're going to thread our right arm underneath our left, just like before. Again, focusing on our breathing. And then we're going to unthread the needle. Thread the left arm underneath the right and really push into that right hand to feel an extra stretch in the shoulders. Unthread the left arm, then tuck your toes and we're ready to push up into a downward facing dog. So we're aiming to be an upside down letter V, aiming for a nice flat back. Working our heels to the ground, but don't worry if they don't get there. Tucking our abdomen up and in, keeping our sit bones nice and high. Breathe here. From there, we're going to come forward to plank. Lower down gently, chaturanga. And we're going to come up to a sphinx pose, resting our forearms on the floor and keeping our chest broad and high. Lower down, this time plant hands and push up to a cobra. Again, keeping that collarbone nice and broad. Lowering back down. And finally pushing up into upward facing dog. Just your hands and the tops of your feet into the floor. And then we push back into our downward facing dog. Taking a moment to get comfy in the pose, find our alignment and breathe. From here, we're going to look forward, bend our knees and step or hop the feet to the front of the mat, rising up into mountain pose, hands above our head. Inhale, and as you exhale, take a nice gentle stretch to the side. Inhale and exhale, bend the opposite way. Then bring your hands to the lower back and take a gentle standing back bend, aiming to keep your thighs forward. And then back to mountain pose, hands above your head, folding down, keeping your chest broad like a halfway lift, and then releasing into a nice forward fold. Again, looking forward, chest broad, and then jump back to plank, lower down for chaturanga, and back into our Sphinx pose. Lowering down into cobra, and then finally pushing up into upward facing dog, and up to downward facing dog. Again, taking a moment just to get comfortable in this pose, making sure your back is flat and you are an upside down letter V. From here, lift your right leg for down dog split, aiming to keep your hips nice and square to the front, and then bring that right leg forward for a low crescent lunge. Bring your hands up above your head, pushing into that front leg so you get a nice hip stretch. From there, bring your hands behind you, interlace them, and have a nice mini back bend, again keeping chest open and broad. And then bring your hands to frame that foot, pushing back into plank and back into downward facing dog. I'm going to repeat this on the other side. So inhale and lift your left leg, trying to keep your hips to the front. Bring that left leg forward to a nice crescent lunge. Raise your hands above your head, really pushing into that front knee. Interlace your hands behind you and pull back, allowing your chest to open. Reframe that foot. Step back into plank. This time lowering into chaturanga. Coming up to Sphinx pose. We're going to have a bit of a change this time. So you're going to clasp your hands behind your back, and on an inhale you're going to lift your chest off the floor, and then see if you can follow by lifting your toes off the floor. Breathe here, and then gently lower down. Completely relax, rest the cheek to the mat. Plant hands, push back up into your downward facing dog. Again, taking a moment, make sure your sit bones are nice and high, aiming for heels to the floor. You're going to come into a side plank, so keep that left hand grounded, come onto the side of the left foot, stacking your right foot on top of that left, and lift your right arm. Slowly lift your right leg, stepping behind you for a wild thing. Your right hand reaches back, push your chest up towards the ceiling. To release, come back up into downward facing dog. That can be quite an intense pose, so take a moment here. And then we'll repeat on the other side. So, keep your right hand down and stack your left leg on top of your right. And step back behind you for a wild thing, keeping your heart open to the ceiling, and then come back up into your downward facing dog. Again, taking a moment to breathe. From here, come forward into plank, lower down to chaturanga. Just take a moment to breathe here, completely relax. Get back to breath. From here, we're going to reach back behind and grab onto our ankles, and we're lifting up into bow pose. So pushing your feet back, really broadening your chest forwards, and breathe here. Slowly release, let go of your legs, and just take a moment here. Back bends can be very energizing, so just take a moment to get back to your breath. Then when you're ready, plant your hands, push up and back into downward facing dog. From here, we're going to add on from our wild thing flow. So we're going to lift our right leg, down dog split. This time really bend the knee, open the hips, look under that left armpit. And then you're going to bring that leg behind you, stepping back again into your wild thing. But this time, as you come out, you're going to bring your right hand down and bring your right leg through for fallen star pose. Almost like a modified version of Wild Thing. And then come back to hands down, pushing back up into your downward facing dog. This flow can be quite challenging, so don't worry if you don't get it first time. You will get it with a regular practice. Take a moment to walk your dog and ready for the other side. So lift your left leg, bend that knee, let that knee come up nice and high, and then step it right back into your Wild Thing. From here, lower that left arm down, taking that left leg through, raising your right arm for Fallen Star. Inhaling, hands down, pushing back up into your downward facing dog. From here, come straight down to your knees and take your bum to your heels for a child's pose. Back bends can bring out lots of emotions and they are quite complicated, so if we didn't get it first time, don't worry. With practice, the flow will become easier, more natural. From here, we're going to come up and we're going to sit on our heels, preparing for camel pose. So for camel pose, we come up onto our knees and we're going to take our left hand to our heel and raise our right hand back behind us. And then we'll do the same on the other side, so come back to center. Take your right hand to your right heel, raise your left hand, lift up, keep your chest tall. And then come back to center, taking a moment to take your bums back to your heels. Lifting back up if you want to try the full expression of the pose. Take your hands to your lower back, lean back, keeping your thighs facing forward. And then you can reach back, grasping your heels with both hands and pushing your chest forward and open. Breathe here. You don't have to let the head go all the way back if it's not comfortable for you. Taking a moment to come back to our heels again. Breathe here. And then plant your hands, push back up into downward facing dog. Breathe here, walk the dog if you need to. Push down, press the chest close to the mat. Let's flow through the vinyasa. So come forward to plank, down to chaturanga. Coming up for our Sphinx pose, it should feel a little bit easier now. Lowering down, pushing back into cobra. Lowering back down. And pushing up to upward facing dog, heels into the floor. And then push back into child's pose. Bum to your heels, let your shoulders rest and relax. Breathe here. Coming forward onto all fours, pushing back up into our downward facing dog. Step your feet in a couple of steps just to clarify that foundation. Looking forward, bending knees, step or hop forward, and we're going to come to sit down on our mat. From here, lie back. Take your heels and your feet right behind you to touch the floor behind you for plow pose. You can keep hold of your feet or you can lay your hands into the mat, really aiming to push down those heels into the floor behind you. Breathe here. There's a nice release for the lower back after all those back bends. From here, take your hands to your lower back and slowly and gently push yourself up into shoulder stand. Remember not to move your head or neck in this pose. Your head and neck should not take the weight. All the weight should be in your shoulders. It's a really good release for the legs. A nice gentle inversion. Breathe here. To come out, bring your knees down towards your head and then slowly lower one leg down gently to the floor, followed by the next leg, and this will bring you into a supported bridge pose. If you want to make this a little deeper, you can release your hands grabbing onto your ankles, or you can clasp your hands underneath you. Keep your hips lifted nice and high. From here we're going to come into reverse tabletop, so come up on your forearms, walk your hands back behind you a couple of inches and then push your hips up to the ceiling, aiming for a flat back and look above you. A very strong pose, good to reset your back, and then gently lower back down. Now we can extend this pose, walk your hands a little bit further behind you. And this time you're aiming for your heels and your toes to be touching the floor with nice straight legs. And when you're ready to come down slowly and lie back down on your mat. We're going to have a go at wheel pose. Now, if this is too much for you, you can take bridge pose again. Otherwise, make sure your heels are right next to your bum. You're going to take your hands by the side of your ears and you're going to push into those hands and push your chest up into full wheel pose. Take a moment to get comfortable in this pose. Move your hands, move your feet, aiming for your chest to be broad, heart to be open towards the ceiling. Breathe here. When you're ready to come out, slowly lower your head to the floor. Bring the soles of your feet together, put one hand on chest, one hand on stomach, and breathe. As we said before, back bends can be really energizing, really invigorating, and they can bubble up lots of emotions. So just take a moment to notice those, let them pass by, and just focus on your breathing. I'm going to start slowing the practice down, so bring your right knee into your chest, aiming to keep that lower back into the floor. Take your right arm out to a T and pull your knee towards the left for a nice gentle supine twist. Come back to center. And this time taking your left knee into your chest as close as it can, keeping your lower back down to the floor. Take your left arm out to a T, take your knee over to the right, looking towards the left hand, again for this nice gentle twist. Just breathe here. And release. This time take both knees in, bring your head up to meet your knees. Curl up as close and tightly as you can before releasing your head back down to the mat and releasing your whole body, ready for Shavasana. Take a moment to make sure your shoulders are pressing into the mat. Allow your feet to flop open, allow your hands to relax down by your side. And just take a moment to soak in all that you just did. Take a mental scan of your body from forehead. Allow your shoulders to be so heavy they sink into the mat. Working down to your legs, to your toes, and just let go. We're not here for long. You can make Shavasana last as long as you want it to. But for here and now, just focus on that breath. Allowing your body to sink in all that work you just did. When you're ready, just start to bring a little bit of movement back into your fingers and your toes. If you'd like, you can take a full body stretch, bringing your arms up above you. And then bring them back down. And when you are ready, turn over onto one side before pushing yourself gently up into a seated position. Thanks for practicing with me. Namaste.